Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm here with a fellow e-commerce expert that focuses primarily on Shopify print on demand. You know him, you love him, Chris Heckman. What's up, man?
How's it going, Ryan? Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Hey man, I'm happy to have you back. First, I just wanted to ask, are you working on a 50-hour Shopify video? I've heard some rumblings. There might be a new one coming.
Yeah, we did the 20-hour about a year ago. Then in December, we released the 31-hour. So I think we got to keep the trend going and shoot for 40 and then maybe 50 after that. No, we're actually next time probably going to go the other way and cut down on some of the fluff and get down to, not that it's fluff, but like some of the auxiliary stuff and just get straight into like tactical, like tangible steps to follow. And then if people want to see like the mindset and all the other things that go along with it, they're able to refer back to the previous courses.
Do you ever check how many people are simultaneously watching that video? I bet you it's like astronomical.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. Like it's been viewed a good amount of times at this point. It's been interesting seeing like the watch through duration and like originally in the first course, I wasn't sure about putting in like mindset and like productivity and organization and all that kind of stuff. During that period of the course, it actually has the highest retention, which is really interesting that like people are enjoying it that much. And I love talking about that stuff. So it's exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, congrats on your success. You've exploded that YouTube channel pretty quickly, and whatever you're doing, keep doing it. It looks like it's working.
Just more free courses.
There you go. Give the people what they want. For anybody who doesn't know you, we did have a few previous interviews, but do you mind just kind of catching them up on a little bit of your background and how you first achieved success in the print on demand space, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my the quick story is after I graduated, I took a job at Amazon. I had no idea what I wanted to do. Just did that to kind of pay the bills while I was working on a couple of different side projects, and then uh, was having some success, but it was always very slow. I was learning at the rate of one. I didn't have any people around me or anything like that, so I had a lot of I would call it failures, but I'll say lessons learned along the way. And then fast forward about a year, I ended up joining a house of 12 other entrepreneurs, and we formed like this community or incubator where everybody in the house was running e-commerce businesses, and we just all came together in this cool environment where everybody was sharing what they were doing. Everybody was running Shopify stores and scaling brands, and it's the kind of environment where you come down to the kitchen table in the morning, there already be six other guys there, like launching their ads, talking about what worked the previous day, what they were testing today, and it was through that experience that I ended up launching a couple of brands that did okay. And then after about 6 months or so of us living together, things just started really taking off like a rocket. So I can very truly attribute a lot of the success that I've had to being in that kind of environment. And fast forward to today, I've grown 8 different brands to $1 million in the first 12 months, exited from a couple of them and done 25 million in sales total.
Absolute beast, man. That's awesome. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you're doing something kind of similar to that house that you had, the incubator. I always think of Silicon Valley, the HBO show, when you tell the story. But you kind of recreated a somewhat similar environment in your school community, right? And by the way, anybody watching, if you want more info, first link in the description if you want to check out WeScale University.
Yeah, absolutely. So WeScale University is basically, we realized like how much in hindsight, how much of our success came down to the people that we were surrounding ourselves with, as well as being able to share resources and tools and strategies and basically what's working today. And people are constantly testing and sharing. And so we tried to bring that in a scalable format, in a much more organized than we were back in the day format, for make it accessible to everybody at anybody who wants to get started. And so that's what we have in the university, is teaching not only what has worked in the past for us on 8 different brands, but then what we're currently doing on, like, my wife and I, we've run a brand that does over $1 million a year on Shopify, as well as have some pretty awesome coaches that we've been able to bring in that together they've done over 50 million in sales. And so there's experts there that you're able to ask questions, but way more importantly is like the culture of the community there. It's honestly so much fun. Like, everybody there is sharing what they're learning. They're supporting each other, going through ups and downs. And to me, the best sign of like a culture of a group comes down to when somebody is sharing a win, seeing other people genuinely jump in and celebrate with them. that to me is like what it's all about. Because like, if when you're running a business by yourself, it can be lonely a lot of times, especially as you're like going through the upward grind of getting to your first sale and your first
Right.
100. It can be a lot, and just having people alongside you, along with expert coaching and the templates that we're currently using in our brand, it just, not that it makes anything easy, because there is obviously learning curve, but it makes it much more doable, and we're just there to help people with that.
Yeah, one thing that just blows my mind that I always think of is like how many people have it in them to create like that massive success that maybe we fantasize about, but deviated at any point for any reason, And I think one of the most common reasons why somebody might not see it through the journey to achieving success with print on demand could just be not having like somebody to talk with about it, about the struggles, the ups, the downs, somebody to celebrate those early sales with. Like I've shared my story before where I was on, Amazon merch was how I got my initial exposure to print on demand. And I would tell my friends, we'd be drinking. I'd be like, yo, by the way, I made like 2 sales on Amazon merch, made like $6 royalties. And they would just like laugh at me like, dude, why are you telling us this? You're a loser. And I'd be like, cause if I can make 6, I'm gonna make 12. They
Yeah.
didn't get the vision.
Yeah, and it's like, if you're going at it alone, then stuff like that crops up, because we naturally turn to our circle of people that are closest to us in our personal life, who, even with the best of intentions, they just don't get it. And so we're naturally like really feeling those opinions. And I can, very similar story. For the first 3 or 4 years of me running Shopify brands, my parents, my friends, everybody was like, what the hell are you doing? It quite honestly wasn't until we sold the first brand that people were like, oh, and then there's, articles and stuff they can read, like real social proof besides me just saying like it's working. And so I think being around people that truly get it helps, because going through, like, it doesn't matter if it's print on demand or any entrepreneurial journey. It's like the 5 stages that you go through, which like Hermosi talks about a lot. It's like you start off with uninformed optimism, where you only have the perceived outcome in your mind, and you're like, oh, this is great, not realizing that we go through next, which is informed pessimism. That's when we start to realize how hard it actually is, which that stuff exists in any business. And then we go through the valley of despair, which is where you're testing, you're putting in a lot of effort and hours, and things start to feel really tough. And that's the point where, when we're in that valley, the previous state that we were in starts to feel a lot better than what we're currently going through, because we had all of our pre-existing anxieties and stresses and stuff. Now it's compounded with, all this extra work, and then the doubt from our friends that we talked about, and all that stuff starts piling on. And that's where so many people end up going back until they, get fed up with their current situation again. And I've personally been in this cycle a lot of times. You get fed up again, you're like, all right, this time it's going to be different. And we commit the same mistake. We see it as like perceived outcome. That's the only thing. And then we just end up rinsing and repeating. And I've seen people just repeat that same cycle over and over again. And that's why in WeScale, we try to position it around, like, we're not here to paint anything as rose-colored glasses. Like, this is hard, but hard is reframed as growth. And all that we can promise is that, outcomes is entirely dependent on the person. What we can promise is that we've done the things that we're talking about. We're going to share all the tools we have. And way more importantly, we're there to help you when times do get tough. And when you have the real learning experiences in front of you, we're here to help like make it that much easier, so you can ultimately get through the valley to informed optimism. You actually know your stuff. You know how to get sales now. You can see a path to growing the business, and then you get to the result you want.
Dude, well said. And it's like I was saying, man, whether it's just having like a community to kind of vent to when things aren't going your way as you're progressing, or needing the step-by-step tutorials and knowing that you have them, right? And if you can't find them, that you've got a coach who can point you in the right direction, or, whatever it is, like kind of show you the way. It makes a lot of sense, and it is crazy. Like you said, like we talk print on demand, but it could be so many other things kind of in life. But I'm all about just kind of people unlocking their potential, because I remember what it was like for me being a grinder, just like literally 9 to 5, then go to my second job, and then come home and literally be like, all right, now I need to work on my passive income streams that are going to free me from this cycle, and it's great what you got going on there, man. I've heard a lot of good things. I've got some people that are in like my community and yours, and I've had people that, just I heard the story about actually somebody who jumped ship. We were talking off camera from my community to your community and ended up absolutely smashing this year. What was it, like February, I think? Just crazy sales. Do you want to maybe briefly talk about that story? Just one of those upside scenarios that people dream of?
Yeah, I mean, there's been people, and again, I'll preface this by saying like there's a lot of wins that happen in the community, but every one of the wins like comes down to the individual. And so absolute full credit goes to the person who's making that post and like having those, because as a coach, even as much as we care, you can only do so much short of like reaching through the keyboard and doing it for somebody. That's why we invest in like the individual and like helping you get to a point that you're the kind of person who's able to see this through, and ultimately replacing ourselves as coaches. Like a coach who does an excellent job puts themselves in a spot where they're no longer needed because the person now has all the tools to do it themselves. So that's like the way that we try to see coaching. But yeah, there's been like the person you mentioned, they did 700 grand in sales in a single month. There's been multiple people that have done over $100,000 in sales, dozens of people that have passed 10,000. And again, it's not like far from get rich quick. We're building real brands, but that's like to what you said. The really exciting thing to me is that we talk about print on demand, right? Because it's no upfront cost. Like you're able to get started and test a lot, which just as a business model makes a lot of sense because you're able to pivot and find product market fit. But then we're not just stopping there where, once you find something that works, it's like drop shipping and it like, you might make a quick buck, but then it burns out fast. We're not doing that at all because we're building real brands that were based on Shopify, which we help people with the learning curve of running the ads, the emails, all of that is covered. But the really exciting thing is that it starts to transcend print on demand because print on demand is really in the name. It's just a fulfillment model. What we're really here to do is build a long lasting brand that people want to come back and buy from again and again. And then it really doesn't matter. Like we start off, we recommend everybody go with apparel, t-shirts. The average human has like 12 t-shirts. It just makes too much sense not to go there. But beyond that, like brands that I had like Yoga Stay, when you get to a certain point and you have a following of people and you have an email list of 50, 60, 70,000 customers, you can market anything to them and they'll eat it up. So like on Yoga Stay, started off with apparel, expanded into yoga mats and yoga equipment and stuff, and build it into, I would no longer even call it a print on demand brand. It's just a brand. And once you have that asset, that's something it's an asset. You can either sell it off or it just keeps compounding in your favor.
Dude, yeah, absolutely love that like perspective on it too. And I've heard people say like basically your email list is your business,
Yeah.
and they're almost kind of right. As long as it's not that you have a list of emails, right? Because you can go buy like email lists. You're not supposed to, but you can go, places and buy a random email list. But what does that do for you? How do you put something in front of the people that's relevant to them, that gets them excited to buy, But the way you're doing it, if you want to talk a little bit about maybe a flow of building that database up, so people kind of have that perspective.
Yeah, I'd love to. And
yeah.
to build on your first point for a second, it's so true. And when we went to sell our businesses, Yoga Stay and History Tees, we both sold to a company called Open Store. People can Google it if you're curious. But those companies, when we were going through due diligence, they obviously want to see everything. But the thing that they're by far the most interested in is the quality and size of the email list and what's your returning customer rate and what's your cohort breakdown of user groups, like all of that kind of stuff, because that's where the real money is. And so our emails, kind of backing into the flow, we send emails to our list that are very simple. And it's as a apparel brand, we're constantly making new designs, right? Especially with AI, which we can talk about that. It's never been simpler. So we're constantly putting out new designs. And the easiest emails that we send is simply to our list, new designs have been added. And we use Klaviyo. You can use any tool, but Klaviyo is great for Shopify. Very simple. And we send out an email that says new designs have been added. That's literally the subject line. Maybe an emoji related to whatever your niche is. Like if you're yoga, do like the yoga pose, that kind of thing. And then the text in the email, it's like 2 sentences. It says, hey there, insert like niche, like on History Tees, we said, hey there, history buff. And then 1 to 2 sentences about the new collection that's now been added, like the inspiration for it, if it was US presidents, something like that. And then you just link them to the collection. And those emails entirely depends on the size, but they do anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 per email send. And we're sending them 2 times a week. And on that, your only cost, there's no transaction, there's no platform fees. There's always transaction fees, but there's no ad costs or anything. So it's 45 to 50% net profit margin on those. And the way that we get those signups, that's the beautiful part, is that our first focus is we build 100 designs, which has never been easier. We build a super simple, well optimized Shopify store, which, getting back to like when I was just bouncing ideas off my friends and I was building stores that they would think look good, like big banners, lots of apps and widgets and like all this random stuff. They always like, yeah, it looks pretty good. Stores always converted terribly. It wasn't until we stripped out everything and the sites looked like basically a sixth grade computer science project. They converted like 4, 5, 6%, which is really good. But then the friends, their opinion is like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, it works, just whatever. But anyway, we build that site and then we start driving traffic. And we have a very easy email pop-up that gives people a discount code. They enter their email, they get to checkout. That's another place we get their email. And so you're building the list while you're running ads at break even or profitable is the first goal. Like we get to the point of you're putting in $1, getting at least $2 to $3 back. And then it's just the next question is how can we put in $1 million, get 2 to 3 million back?
Dude, what's so crazy is this flow that you described, like, has it even really changed in the last 10 years? Like, people have been doing this exact thing for probably, I mean, definitely beyond 10 years. But I just think back to like the start of my e-commerce journey when like I stopped being the guy kind of going through the cycles of buying and being like, you know, I get it. I'm a web developer. I'm a sharp guy. Like, I could be doing this. And I ultimately like ended up not doing that. I started FBA, did kind of a different path, but there's always time for me to switch over to Shopify. But has anything changed in the last 10 years? I know like SMS, maybe anything, like any big advancements, step forward?
Yeah, it's been relatively I've done effectively the exact same thing on all 8 brands. And I'll put it this way, the first like, I don't know, 10 brands at least that I launched, they all completely failed. And on each of those, it was big, beautiful sites with tons of apps and like just super slow load speed, wide variety of products. Felt like a Chinese gift shop when you're getting in there. Like no idea what the theme or like, central product line is. The last 8 back-to-back 7-figure brands that went from 0 to at least $1 million in the first 12 months, every single one of them was bare bones, like literally the default Shopify theme, emails, Facebook ads. That's it. And now, not to paint it as like an overly simplistic view, the magic of it comes down to it frees you up to just do exactly what people who are doing merch by Amazon and Etsy, same exact ball game, just making really good designs and really good products. And so anybody who's watching this who's on Etsy or merch by Amazon, it's effectively the same thing, just with a different distribution channel. So the rules of the game don't really change. It's you're doing your product research, you're seeing where the market is, what are they interested in terms of the styles, the concepts, all of that kind of stuff. The only difference is instead of just going after, top ranks like SEO and keyword research, we try to do it under just one cohesive theme. And so like yoga, for example, we start really broad. In the first 100 designs, we do 10 to 20 that are just graphics and 10 to 20 that are typography, 10 to 20, and you just do a wide variety, cast a broad net, start running with really low spend Facebook ads. And that's what we're there to help people like look over your metrics and see like where things are at. And then you see out of 100 designs, if even 1 or 2 of them show good signs, meaning they're just getting cheap traffic, then we double down and we make 25 to 50 more just like those. Like on History Tees, it was we launched it and we had 100 designs. It was like blueprint art, all different history stuff, just historical facts, stuff that I thought the blueprint art was cool. Nobody agreed with me, but that's okay. Because one design we had, it was a picture of Abe Lincoln and it said 1 out of 5 stars for Lincoln's Theater or Ford's Theater, would not recommend. It went insanely viral. And so using our full brain power, we looked at that and went, I think we should make more designs like that. And so then we rolled out other historical figures with like a funny slogan or like sarcastic joke. Like another one was Custer's Last Stand. Another one, Pickett's Charge, if anybody knows that reference. And the quote was, "You want me to do what now?" Stuff like that. And it built it from a one product store where just one design was driving all the traffic to now people were coming and instead of buying one shirt, this is like the real crux of Shopify. Instead of buying one, they're buying 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shirts at a time. And then we also get them on our email list. And anytime we launch a new collection of 20 or 30 funny, sarcastic history shirts, one, we start marketing them to new customers, but then two, we have that email list, and those emails we were talking about, we send it out and say, based on, everybody's feedback, we're really excited about the new sarcastic history collection we have. And then you don't just send that, you plug it into ChatGPT and say, write this email in a funny old English style, like talking or writing style. And people absolutely eat it up. The number of people that we get replying to us in like old English themselves is hysterical. And it's like a, minor detail, but that's like the true sign of you're starting to build a brand and people are buying from you because of who you are and not just because the design they see on the shelf.
Absolutely. And plus you get the reply, and doesn't that help increase the deliverability for the future too?
Exactly. Yeah, you're right
Hey.
on. And when it's something like a design that's funny or shareable, when people comment on the ad, that's basically the same thing as what you're mentioning on email. Same thing on the social side. Facebook sees that and they start pushing it out to more and more and more people organically. And that's where it bringing it all back full circle to Merch by Amazon and Etsy. It just comes down to having really good designs. And so your question was like, has anything really changed? It's the fundamentals have not changed at all. It's you drive traffic, and the past 8 stores, we've done pretty much the same ads, same store, same emails, but we've had stores that have skyrocketed and stores that have kind of struggled. The difference has always been just the quality of the niche and the quality of the products that we're putting out. So then we focus on that and nothing else.
Hey, it makes sense, man. You figure it out too. You crack the code of what's going to make somebody feel compelled to click the ad and purchase in, different niches. It's going to be different things. But once you crack that, makes sense. Double down, triple down.
Yeah.
And, with Facebook ads, the scale, you can scale so quickly too. It's really exciting, man, what you've built, the community and everything. We Scale University, top link in the description. Is there anything else you want to like maybe plug or tell us about? Any other success stories you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of success stories in the community, but again, it comes down to like the individual. And what I can say is that anybody who's interested in trying it out and like you've put in some effort on Merch by Amazon or on Etsy and you're interested in print on demand, is that I am more bullish than ever on Shopify, because it's not even about Shopify. It's about building a real brand. You could do it on Wix or whatever. Shopify is just the easiest. But
Shopify has that Shopify checkout where it recognizes your email, it texts you a code, and then you check out in like 5 seconds, man. They've gotten me on so many impulse buys like that.
exactly, Ryan, you're already there. I think it's any day now. We
I
should
get it. I'm saying I get it.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. But yeah, anybody who's curious and you can see yourself doing print on demand for not just the next week or month, but like you want to build something long term, like the next 12 months, 24, 5 years down the line, then this is a place that we can absolutely help you. And at the same time, the people that we want in the community are people that are serious about building and growing the brand and are very coachable and are looking for feedback. And that's been the biggest difference that I can share is there's been people that we've worked with that work really hard and they make some good designs and they put their full effort in. And then there's other people that it just goes to another level. The difference has never been, ironically enough, like their initial set of designs or even the niche that they choose or any of that initial stuff that us as beginners we normally get hung up on early on. Every time it has come down to their mindset. The people that have had the best results are the ones who are able to be objective and just self-aware. And it comes down to the little things, like when they get feedback, whether it's from a coach or from the customers, way more importantly, they just set it aside as data and then they go and take action on it. The people who, again, I feel for them, but they put in just as much effort, but then they don't get to where they want. It comes down to their response to that feedback. And if they get emotional and they're like, well, I worked hard on these designs and, it should be working. It's none of that at all. Like you should be holding yourself accountable to the effort that you're putting in, and the progress you're making is in how much you're learning. And as long as we judge ourselves off of what we can control and not what we can't, then those are the kind of people that we love to have. That's exactly who the community is filled with, and we'd love to have you.
Yeah, it sounds like the archetype of someone that's going to be successful at, really anything in life. If you can, be objective, self-reflect, etc., act on data,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that makes a lot of sense, man.
Yeah.
And like you said too, if this stuff was working 10 years ago, it's working today, it will probably be working 10 years from now and you'll be happy you learned. So it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. And print on demand, like now more than ever, it's if you look at the charts, it's between now and 2030, it's growing at 24 to 25% compounding annual growth rate. So like there's never been a better time to get started than right now. I think it's like especially with AI, building a real brand, it's never been easier, and it's an exciting time to get started.
I agree, man. And I know quite a few people, obviously been doing this for years, like that used to self-fulfill, that switched over to just using, the big players, Printify, Printful, et cetera. And then focusing on like what you described, man, just scaling, starting your own brand and scaling. So it makes sense to me. I'm excited. I'm excited for anybody watching. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, use the comment section. I got a link to WeScale University at the top of the description. Chris, man, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you, Ryan. It's been a pleasure.